Hello, welcome back to the SML podcast. We're back with Playing the Field with Field General 007. Another exciting show. We have another special guest on this show tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. One is the up-and-coming SML Development League, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about something here that I did not talk about on the On the Horn segment. We're going to talk about the league dev name, or the developmental league name. We've got 4 different choices that were submitted by you, the fans, you, the league. We've got SML the Matrix, SML the Primer, SML the Gridiron, or SML the Miners. Currently, SML the Primer leads with 5 votes, and the Matrix at second with 3, the Gridiron with 2, and the Miners with 1 vote at this point in time. You can vote on that in our GroupMe social chat. It's going to be going until tomorrow, and then that will be closed. We will have selected the name, hopefully, of the league. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. I'm going to be looking for a few other people to kind of serve as a dual role. Obviously, the games in this league come first, but I don't think it'd be too hard for us to get another game. I'm definitely going to get my games done in the Dev League. It's good practice, and I think it's going to be a good look for the league overall. Be able to get some of those guys off the waiting list into SML action, be able to groom those guys for if and when someone else decides to move on or gets booted, whatever might happen. We know things happen in these leagues. And then we'd have a guy that was, hey, you know what, this guy was a good sim guy. He follows the rules. He plays all of his games. He's really active. He follows the Twitter rules, which will go in effect next Madden. And, he's just a good active guy. So instead of looking at the waiting list and flipping a coin and saying, we'll go with this guy, you already know what guys are good. And if a guy sucks, he never even makes it to your primary league. You just cut him right then and there. Or you find out he's not active. It's just going to help grow the culture here. So that's what we're looking for, is just to be able to improve as a league. I'm going to quit babbling, though, here, and we're going to get to your favorite part, my favorite part of the podcast, the On the Horn segment, and we're going to get to that now. All right, we're on the On the Horn segment. We got the Bears owner with us today. How you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Pretty good. Just kind of throwing this together here you and I were both talking a little bit ago. We just watched the NBL Season 31 Super Bowl. What were your thoughts on that?
That was really exciting, actually. I thought it was, kind of a back and forth game. I didn't know what was going to happen at the end there. There was a lot of turnovers, but one of the defenders, I think it was the Browns, he ended up getting a key. I believe it was a sack that ended the game, but it was really back and forth. Whoever had the ball at the last possession really, I thought, was going to win the game, so I thought the Lions were going to come through and score the game-winning touchdown to win the Super Bowl, but the Browns defense really just came through in the clutch, so it was an awesome game to watch, I thought.
Yeah, it was a fun game. I think in terms of being the Super Bowl, it was kind of unexpected just because of how sloppy of a game it was. That kind of made it fun in a way. But, Bombers, their commissioner and most decorated player of the league, and you just didn't really expect 6 turnovers from him. But like you said, it was definitely a fun game to watch. Have you ever been to a Super Bowl in online play?
Yeah, I have. I've been to a Super Bowl in some other leagues before.
Okay, so what do you do in preparation for that game? I mean, is there anything you do different, or it's just you just wing it?
For me specifically, I stick to what I know I'm comfortable in. I don't try to do anything too differently, or at least call plays that I'm unfamiliar with. Right. Usually by that time in the year, I'm pretty comfortable with when I'm running. But as far as, adjusting in game, there's definitely strategies. If someone keeps throwing to, the flats, then you might want to adjust to that. And that's what it kind of seemed like with the Super Bowl game. The Browns were letting the flats wide open, which was letting the Lions just kind of march down the field, and there was still plenty of time left. He ended up taking some bigger shots down the field, which I think kind of costed him. But, in situations like that, it's really hard. I don't try to mix up anything differently. I just adjust in game if anything like that were to happen, playing underneath versus over the top. But
Okay. And this is your first season with the SML. And I believe earlier you also watched part of the stream, if I'm not mistaken, the Vikings Dolphins game, your division rival, correct?
yeah, correct.
What'd you think about that game?
It was a good game. It was back and forth. It looked like the Vikings were gonna pull ahead and just kind of leave the Dolphins in the back. But actually, there was a key. I think it was a field goal block that almost let the Dolphins win the game. He got
Right.
way downfield with no more time left, and I was cheering for the Dolphins for sure because I want to make sure I have my division locked up. But it was definitely a great game back and forth. So,
Yeah.
and
Go ahead.
I played against the Vikings, and he's got a tough team. Definitely someone I wouldn't sleep on. Someone I don't really want to face actually because of the team that he has right now. They're pretty good. So.
Speaking of your division, the NFC North is definitely up the ante. They've gotten a little bit more competitive. I mean, last season it's a different Vikings owner. That's kind of been who's run that division this cycle. Now you took over the Bears, new Vikings owner, and even Fuzzy's still hanging in there at 7-6. Vikings at 9-4. You're currently at the top at 10-3. What are you going to have to do to solidify that division crown?
That's a tough question. I feel like we just have to keep winning our games. We have to win out. I believe there's 3 games left, and for us, I think we have to win out because it's so close. I think that we need to get our offense just a little bit more comfortable. Sometimes we struggle in the red zone for sure. Our defense is good, though. I think our defense is solid. Over the last few games, we've shut some opponents out or held them to, minimal points or yardage.
You've got the number 2 defense in terms of points per game. You're holding people to 14 points per game. And your yards are in the top 10, 246, and you're third against the run with 66 yards. You just played the Packers and shut them out 24-0. Your final 3 games you have at Dallas, at New York Jets, and at Green Bay. So obviously I think the biggest threat would be the Cowboys, not to sleep on the Jets or the Packers, but the Cowboys are 11-1. From what you've seen or what you've heard, what is it going to take for you to beat the Cowboys?
From what I've seen, it's going to take a lot of stopping Ezekiel Elliott. I think that's one of his biggest targets. I think he's even have some pretty good numbers with him. And so that's our focus. We're going to try to make him beat us through the pass and see what he has there. But our goal is to shut down the run. I think that's going to be key because if you could shut down the run, then you make teams one-dimensional. And with someone like him that has such a good run game, that's our key to just trying to shut down the runs to see what he has with the pass game.
So right now we only have one undefeated team left after 13 games or 14 weeks. I think we're in week 14 right now. The Indianapolis Colts. Prime is 13-0, and he just absolutely destroyed the Chargers 66-24. How are the Colts able to separate themselves so far from the rest of the competition?
From what I've seen, he has a really good passing game, which is quite opposite than the Cowboys, and so I think a lot of it comes through the air for him. I'm not quite sure how he does with his running backs, but I would imagine, if you're able to rush the QB quite often, I think that might be able to get him off balance. But I'm not sure because we haven't really played him.
Right.
So it'd be interesting to see how someone's able to maybe put some pressure on him to see what he does and how he adjusts.
So overall, you almost have a full season or 70% of a season in with this league so far. What are your initial thoughts on the SML so far?
Man, I really, really like the community. I think that's a huge aspect of this league. I've been in some other leagues where, especially this time of the year, guys aren't, as active, and the activity in here, I think like 90%, if not 100% of games usually get played, which is awesome to see. Just the commitment, the support from other users, just the encouragement, and just that. I think that's been a great experience so far. One of my favorite leagues this year.
That's good to hear. Something you kind of talked about a week or so ago, and something I toyed with about a year ago. Really wasn't feasible at that point in time because we weren't keeping full, but an SML developmental league. You talked about having a buddy or some buddies that are interested in playing, and we do have a waiting list. What do you think it's going to take to have a successful development league?
I honestly think, and I've seen this work in a few other places, is in a development league, you're going to want, your core group of guys that are going to be able to just manage anything that comes up within the league, and put less pressure on a main commish. I think that's first and foremost, like the most important thing. You have to have guys that are really just dedicated to building something and being a part of something that's bigger than just one specific user, and just kind of seeing what people can contribute, and then giving them also an opportunity to contribute to the league as well. I think that when we look at Prime or some of the other commissioners in our league, I want to help them out as much as I can, if that's doing Photoshop stuff or anything that the league might need. That's my goal, is to just be able to help out as much as I can and be a part of something that's even bigger than myself, and just kind of get the name out there. And there's a lot of leagues that aren't ran super well, and I've been a part of leagues like that, and it's frustrating. The last 2 to 3 seasons, and then it kind of closes down because people don't want to play anymore, or whatnot, and that's unfortunate. I think there's really good users out there that are looking for just stability or just a good league to be a part of.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's defined.
Exactly. I think, we've got, and you're not the only one, the Eagles hit me up about a dev league and one or two other guys. So I think between me, you, and 2 or 3 other guys, we could do that. And the Eagles even suggested doing something like what they do with the NBL grid, where one guy from the main league is a team in each division, and they kind of control their own division, making sure those guys are playing their games, handle the discipline type stuff. So instead of having, like you said, one commish, you basically, you have 8 different admins almost, and it's something you could do in a like a little pilot league. You get to see what a guy's social skills are like. How sometimes a guy, if you put him in any position of power, even if it is something as simple as over a Madden league, some guys really let the ego get out and just are really not the same person that they used to be. So I think it's kind of, you can do a lot with a dev league. You can build a guy's admin skills up to where you can actually introduce them as a full-fledged admin in the main league, as well as for me, like, I was interested in doing it just because at this point I need to be playing more Madden. I've really laid off it in the last couple years, and it's starting to show, I think, and I would just like to play more Madden, but playing lobby ball just doesn't do it for me anymore. It's not really fun the way that they play, and I think it'd be good just to keep practicing in this environment that we do here in the SML.
Absolutely, I agree.
I guess the last few questions I have for you are going to be predictions, of course. Who's going to win the NFC North?
The Bears, of course.
Okay, good to hear. It's always good to have confidence. Like
Absolutely.
I said, you got those 3 games left, the Cowboys being the biggest obstacle along the way. Who do you think, outside, you already mentioned the Vikings, who's the biggest challenge in the NFC playoff race for you? Like, if you had to face them in the divisional or NFC championship, who do you not want to see in that NFC championship game?
Definitely. So, as I mentioned, the Vikings. I haven't been able to play against the Cowboys, so I guess I'll see how that goes. I expect to play, if we make it to the playoffs. I expect to see him there, as long as also as the Falcons as well. And so, outside of them, the Eagles were tough for sure. The Lions were definitely tough too. We lost to the Lions as well over a crazy field goal block.
Right.
So, outside of those teams, and I apologize if I missed anyone, but outside of those teams, those are the ones that we know are on the radar for sure, and are really close to getting in. I'm not sure about some of the other divisions, if it's the 49ers as well,
They're
or
you got basically tied almost with the Cardinals and 49ers. They're both 7-5 right now. The NFC South has pretty much been run away with the Falcons at 11-2, the Cowboys 11-1, the Eagles 9-4. The Panthers currently are battling with the Vikings for that sixth seed at 8-4 and 9-4. So I mean, it's almost all the way up in the air at this point. That's why it's almost still too early predictions, and we're in, I believe, week 14. So I guess with that in mind, too early predictions. Who's going to be in the Super Bowl this season?
um, I really think it's going to be the Colts, and I mean, I don't want to, I guess, count myself out, so I want to be there for sure. But outside of me, I can see maybe the Falcons going pretty far. From what I've heard and what I've seen, they're a good team, and I've known they've played some pretty tough opponents, and I think they're consistent. So I'll go with them.
Okay. So who would you pick in that game if you had the Colts versus Falcons?
Well, you have to go with the undefeated team. I mean, they're playing really well. So, at that point, it's, maybe they can go 16-0 and win it all. And I don't know if that's happened in the league before, but it'd be exciting to see. That's completely dominant.
Yeah, he's done that 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Well,
So,
then that would persuade my decision for sure,
yeah.
So I guess that would be, I'd pick him for sure then, knowing that.
Yeah, he's got the record for Super Bowls, and basically every cycle he goes 19-0 at least one time. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so I never pick against the Colts. It's always Prime's league to run, apparently. But still, it's going to be fun. It's always been interesting watching you play, and I appreciate all the little Photoshop things that you've been doing, and just overall your demeanor and your high activity level has been awesome to see so far.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun. I really like it. So,
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you getting on here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and end this interview, but I'd like to say thanks for hopping on, and thanks for overall just being a good contributor so far.
absolutely, man. It's my pleasure, and look forward to completing this season and seeing how the rest of the year goes for the rest of the SML.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Well, there you have it. A very confident, calm, cool, and collected Chicago SML Chicago Bears owner. He basically just guaranteed that he was going to win the NFC North. He also spoke there's a good chance of him winning the Super Bowl. He's not counting himself out, but he also gave some good shout outs to teams such as the Falcons. So thanks again to the Bears, Meats, Gramazens, anyone else that I've done interviews with. Appreciate you guys hopping on the show with me, taking time out of your day to hop on, and I appreciate everyone that takes the time of their day to listen to this show. We got another episode coming at you here in a few days. Let us know what you think about the SML Developmental League. If you haven't yet, follow us on Twitter. Check out the other shows done by Prime and Meats on SoundCloud and iTunes. We'll be at Sim Madden League. Check us out on Daddy's Leagues. If you're interested in joining us, be sure to fill out an application today. We'll get with you. Be sure to like, subscribe, take care, and have a great day.